Three hours later.
All right. We are leaving the embassy or the consulate in D.C. Hooray! We got it, y'all. All right. So it's the time is 11:20. We got here at 9 o'clock, a family of 4. It's a beautiful day. Okay. Hey guys. We are leaving the Mexican Consulate. Haha! Temporary residencies in hand. So, mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. What's up, everybody? Welcome to our channel. My name is Angela, and I am one half of Lamar and Angela. Welcome to our channel. This channel is all about Black love, inspiration, motivation, and elevation. So I wanted to bring you up to date on our process of applying for temporary residency. Lamar and I have made the decision to move to Mexico, and we are planning to make this move this summer, the summer of 2022, at the end of June, the beginning of July. So we're in that process of going through downsizing this entire house and making an application for temporary residency. So I wanted to share what we learned along the way. So hopefully this will be of benefit to you. Okay, I've got my notes here so I won't forget. First, obtaining the appointment at the consulate. Y'all, I would dare say that was probably the hardest part about this whole process, at least for me. If you go onto the Mexican Consulate website, you will notice that when you go onto the consulate website and try to click on appointments, there aren't any. And if you watch it long enough, you'll notice there never are any appointments. So yeah, that's the problem. How to obtain an appointment. We learned and discovered that for our minor children, they need an appointment also, a separate appointment. So it wouldn't be a matter at the Washington D.C. consulate that I can make an appointment for me and that takes care of all of us. Or Lamar could have made an appointment and I could have had an appointment and our kids were fine. No, we had to have 4 separate appointments. Now, I say that also to say that not every consulate operates in the same way. So it'd be good and it would be wise to check with the consulate in your area to make sure that that's not something that they do. I'm learning that there's always a lot of leeway with the Mexican consulates, and there's always a lot of leeway with some of the rules and regulations. So check with your consulate to make sure and verify that that's how they operate. The consulate here in Washington, D.C. required 4 separate appointments. So I had to act fast. So now what I did was I did reach out to the consulate because after having gone to that website for months and noticed that they never have any appointments, I reached out to them and said, hey, yo, when do your appointments open up? And she one of the ladies was gracious enough to tell me that the next time that the appointments were opening up and gave me that date. So I became Stalker McGee, y'all. I was on that website daily. Like 2 days before, I was stalking their website. And when I say stalking their website, I mean stalking their website. I was logging in on the day that the appointments were opening up. I was on that website, refresh to make sure I wasn't going to miss that window. And I did notice that they did open the appointments up. And when I saw that, I thought, great, we've got to get 4 appointments. So my first consideration was for the kids. I wanted to make sure that I took the kids out and took them on the same day so that I didn't have to take one on one day to school, take them out of school one day to bring them downtown, and then another on another day. Let's do them both at the same time. So when I logged onto the website, I was able to secure a 10 o'clock appointment for my son, and then enter that information, submit, came back and got the 11 o'clock appointment for my daughter, entered their information, came back, submit. And by the time I finished that, which was only the period of like maybe 8 minutes tops, that whole week was gone. Just in 8 minutes, that whole week was gone. I was like, oh, snap, me and Lamar don't have any appointments. So I had to just grab appointments for the next week, just grab whatever was available, because it went fast. I would say within a maybe a 15-minute time span, all the slots for the entire month were gone. So we had 4 of those slots. So I was very grateful, y'all. I was very grateful, because those appointment slots went fast. So you're going to have to stalk that website. So that's the first tidbit. So then after I had made the appointment, got the kids on the Thursday and me and Lamar for the following week, and on different days, because I was figuring, we're adults. We can, if he goes on one day and I go on another, so be it. That's the way it has to be. But I reached out to the consulate, because I was like, well, if we got to bring the kids on Thursday and they have to have all of our documentation, can't you just do us on the same day at the same time? I mean, So after I reached out to them, they did were gracious enough to change some things in their schedule and allowed our appointments to be rescheduled for the same day so they could take us as a family block. That was very nice of them. They didn't have to do that, but they were very gracious in doing that. So I was thankful. Okay. So gathering the documents. When you make the appointment, they'll send you a confirmation email that lets you know that what the time of your appointment is. And then they also followed up afterwards as the day got closer with additional reminder tickler emails that said, hey, reminder, you got an appointment, reminder, you got an appointment, and the documentation that was necessary. You needed to have the application. I actually filled out the application using Adobe so that it would be all nicely printed out. You needed to have not only that, but you had to have your passport and a photocopy of your passport. We also had to, of course, provide bank statements proving economic solvency. So we put those all 12 months of bank statements in our packet. Now, at the Mexican embassy or consulate here in D.C., it was enough that I was able to just print the statements from our Bank of America account right from the web and just include a copy of those 12 months showing that we had the money in our accounts for every month. That was enough for them. We had that in our packet, and we also had pay stubs, and we also had 401k information in there too, showing that not only were we showing that we had the bank statements, but we also had the monthly income in terms of 6 months worth of pay stubs, and we put a year's worth of 401k investment information in there too. Listen, y'all, I was not playing no games. I didn't want any kind of hiccup to occur. Okay, no kind of hiccup. Because my philosophy has always been, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So that's the way I roll, and that came in handy. I'll tell you about that a little later. So then I also had these neat little plastic folders. Now I use these plastic folders in my business to carry client information when I'm going from place to place and I have to have separate information on my clients. I have these folders that I use in my business, and they came in handy because each application had to have its own separate supporting documentation. So each of our applications not only had our applications in it and all of this supporting documentation that I made copies of, but it also had in it, our passport photo too, because you had to have a passport photo in your packet as well. So, what else did we have? The day of appointment. Okay, so we got down there. Our appointment, Lamar's appointment, was at 9 a.m. and each of us had a subsequent appointment after that, 9, 10, 11. And I think my appointment technically was for 1 o'clock, but they were going to try to work me in to see if they could try to, they had to keep that in the system apparently just to make sure they could block that there was some time available. And when I got there, she did ask me, what time is your appointment? So I had our email that showed what our appointment time was, just to confirm. And I had the email that they sent me saying that they were going to move our times around and all that kind of stuff. I brought that with. I was glad I did that too, because when we got there and said, hey, our appointment is for 9 o'clock, they were like, I don't see you on no appointment. So I had to show them the letter or show them the copy of the email that you sent me saying we could change that appointment day or that you would move us around. And that's what we did. So that worked out great. Okay, so my husband went first. So at the Mexican Consulate, there is a room that's off to the side for visas. And in that visa room, it kind of has the look of a kind of like if you think of like a bank and a bank teller, bank stall kind of situation where you kind of come in there, and there was like a small area where you could sit maybe with no more than 6 chairs in it. And then they had another place for you to set your, Lamar just came in, had a place for you to set your, to get your picture taken and things like that. So that was in that little small room where that's pretty much where you waited and got your application processed. When we came to the teller window, we handed her our she asked for our application. We gave her that. And then she asked for our passport, or asked for Lamar's passport. Gave her that. Then she came back and said, can you provide your bank statements? Bank statements. Handed her that. And she was like, okay, hold on. If I need something else, I'll let you know. And so we went back and sat down. And that's it. We had in the packet ready for her our other supporting documentation, but she never called for it. We could have just handed her everything, but she didn't ask for everything to be sent that way. She asked for what she wanted when she wanted it. So, okay, that's the way that went. So like I said, my husband went first. At another point in time, she calls, one of the other women called Lamar up to the counter and literally interviewed him about, so why do you want to come to Mexico? Why Mexico? What is it about Mexico that you want to come? Why? And what do you plan to do? And how are you planning to work? Or are you planning to, how are you planning to support yourself? And all this kind of stuff. We happen to also mention that we eventually plan to retire. And we're planning our retirement in Mexico. Are you planning to retire now? What'd you plan to do? It wasn't in a confrontational way. She was very lovely. But yeah, they were asking some questions. Okay. So after that was finished, then they asked for my information. Okay, so I provided them with my information as well. Now, for me, they didn't ask for anything other than my application and my passport photo. That was all they asked for in terms of for my information. And I guess because we're married, that they were able to take that same information for my husband because it had plenty of we had plenty of money in our bank account that would prove that economic solvency for the family, that it wasn't an issue. And she never used any of the paperwork that we had. And as a matter of fact, after they reviewed all of our paperwork, they handed it back to us. So it was like, oh, well, wow. But again, better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Okay, so the reason why I mentioned that having the paperwork was really important, or having additional documentation and having it on hand was very important, because we kind of hit a little bit of a snag in it. And there were two snags that I kind of want to address that I'm glad we had in our packet. Now, again, I bought this whole folder, this plastic folder full of all kinds of documentation. I didn't know what they were going to ask. Shoot, we even have the title to our cars in here. I had it all. Okay. And I'm glad I did, because at one point in time when they had got to our kids, they pulled the information for our children, gave them the application, the pictures for their passport photos that were in there too, and they asked for our children's birth certificates. Now, our two younger children were adopted from Ethiopia. The name that's on their birth certificate does not match the name that's on their passport, because in the adoption process, their names were changed in the adoption process. They have part of their birth name in their name, but the rest is not, and the documentation doesn't match. So I knew that might be a problem. So I came prepared with not only their Ethiopian birth certificates, but their new American birth certificates, because we completed the readoption process here in America so that the kids can have American birth certificates. Then we brought their adoption paperwork. We brought, at one point in time, they even asked for our marriage license to verify that we were even married. So they asked for that documentation as well. Now, if you look at the consulate's information in terms of the application information, it doesn't mention anything about your need to provide your marriage certificate. However, I knew that that might be something that they would ask, and it seems like it should be a fairly legitimate question. If you're saying that you're married, show us your marriage license. So I brought that with us, and I'm glad I did, because had I not brought that paperwork, we would have had to come back at another time to complete the process. So I'm thankful that we had all of their information with us and on hand, and I had copies of that information just to be on the safe side. I told you I ain't playing no games. Okay, you heard. So anywho, I'm also fortunate and glad that we did, because there was a lady that came in as we were getting our stuff processed, who was having a rushed situation with a visa. Apparently, she and her son and husband and kids were at the airport at National and trying to get on a flight, and did not notice that their little kid, boy, who was probably like 6 years old or so, his passport had expired. And she didn't notice that. She had bought these tickets and they were at the airport, and the passport had expired. And so I guess Mexico said, well, maybe you can go over to the consulate and get something worked out. I don't know what to tell you, bub. But she ran in there really frantic. And apparently the husband was not the biological father of the kid. Apparently the child's father lives in someplace else and had to give permission for her to take him into Mexico, and the documentation was not up to par, or that notarized letter was not good enough, or you should have renewed your passport. So yeah, so her husband and the other kids and the rest of the family had to go on to Mexico, while she stayed behind with the kid to try to straighten out this passport information. I'm telling y'all, I was playing no games. I had 99 problems, but my passport wasn't one, okay? We weren't playing any games. So I say that to say, make sure that you have dotted all your I's and crossed all your T's when you're making your application. Check those dates. If the dates look like they're getting kind of close to the time period where your passport is about to expire, go on and get that passport renewed, y'all, because they were like, sorry, can't do nothing for you. Have a nice day. Yikes. So anyway, we got there at 9, and by about 11:30, we were done. They were asking us for $48 a piece, for which we paid with a debit card, and that was it. And after we were done, we had 4 visas, temporary visas for Mexico. Really grateful that we got our Mexican visa and all that kind of stuff. Now, here's the interesting part that I want to make sure I mention to you, just in case you didn't know. What your visa will show is the date of this application work that has just been finished and 6 months from that time period. So you have 6 months to get your little butt down to Mexico and show up there at their consulate office, or the INM office in Mexico. They gave us a printout listing all the consulate offices, or I keep saying consulate, but it's whatever. Anyway, to get to immigration in Mexico and show them that you've gotten here. We're here. Now you can come by car, you can come by boat, you can come by land, you can come by carrier pigeon, whichever way you come, but you have to get there before this date that's marked in your visa. Once you are there, you have 30 days to show up at a consulate office there to finish the other side of your paperwork that has to be processed in Mexico. Now, she did say that because of COVID, that these appointments sometimes are hard to get, or are they're spreading them out, or they have a backlog because they're trying to spread things out, social distancing and all that kind of thing. So as long as when you get there, you make that appointment and it's within that 30-day window, you're fine. Even if your appointment falls outside of the 30-day window. If you wait until day 31 to make your appointment, you're asked out. If you wait until a couple months later to make your appointment, asked out. Also, make sure that if you're flying in by air, when you fly in and they give you that little Visa card right there on the airplane to fill out, and you fill out that information, when you check in, or when you go through those lines in terms of arriving in Mexico, do not, you hear me? Do not go through the regular tourist line, because if the person at that desk stamps this visa with a tourist visa, that will put a snag in the whole process, and you have to go through all this all over again. And honey, after all this, you don't want to have to go through this again. So you have to make sure that you will now enter through the residence line, and that's how you make sure that you go in when you fly in, okay? And then let's see, lastly, I want to mention that when we made our appointment, and by the time we finished, the persons were so gracious, they were so lovely, and they were so wonderful. I just want to say that it was a really positive process for us all the way around. As this video has gone in, I've included little clips and pictures of our experience. And so I hope that experience is as great for you as it was for us. Now, I've heard that some people pay persons to do this for them. I guess you could, but it wasn't it wasn't that hard for us. If you have all of your documentation together, if you already keep that kind of information on hand, this should be fine. You should be fine. Yeah, I think that's all. But if you have any further questions, don't hesitate to reach out below and hit us with any questions or comments that you may have. And again, subscribe to our channel so you can follow along with our journey. Okay, the countdown is on, y'all. The countdown is on. We got 6 months to get there, and actually less than that. So by June, it's February now. By June, we will be in Mexico. Join us for the journey. Bye.